Alright, so what's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Now today we're going through my top 10 weapons to use in Rebirth in Season 3. We're not going to mess around, we're just going to go straight into it, and I'm going to start off with the meta at the moment because this one's just obvious, and that's the SMA Subverter. This is, people would say, the best weapon to use at long range at the moment in terms of an assault rifle. Now here's the class setup on the screen. The main things I want to talk about here is the muzzle brake and the underbarrel. Now the reason that I've gone for these two is mainly because of the horizontal recoil on this gun. If I go into the firing range here, you can still see the horizontal recoil is still pretty bad on this thing. It glides to the left, then the right, then the left, just forever. And it might not look too bad, but the thing is, horizontal recoil is by far the hardest to control, at least on controller anyway. So yeah, the cases brake and the Brewing Heavy support are both there to control that horizontal recoil. It's still not the best, but the damage on this thing is worth it. Next up, we got the HRM9. If you don't have these two weapons in your classes already, I'm surprised, to be honest, because everybody's using these. But here's what we got on screen. Very straightforward bread and butter set. Okay, it's just kicked me out of the game. Nice. But yeah, as I was saying, very bread and butter loadout. You've probably seen this thing everywhere, so I'm not going to waste too much time on it. We're going to get into some other weapons now. I'm going to structure this video based on my class setup, so I'm just going to go assault rifle SMG, assault rifle SMG, and we're going to start off with the assault rifle in the next loadout that I use. This is the Brewing. The Brewing has been my favorite gun since Warzone 1, to be honest. I love this thing. Once again, a very straightforward loadout. We've got the 60 round mag and the glassless optic, Brewing Heavy support, cases brake, and the long barrel. Now, everything here should be very self-explanatory. Optic and 60 round mag, you know, optic for the clear precision and the 60 round mag for mobility, and you don't really need more than 60 rounds, to be honest. Once again, cases brake and Brewing Heavy support, these two are just the best for recoil control. Then obviously you got the long barrel as well, just for the extra range, no brainer. Next up, the SMG I like to use with the Brewing is the Striker 9. This is the load that I go with here. You don't really need a barrel on this thing, I find, because the range on this weapon is actually pretty good. If we go here, effective damage range is 12 meters, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but for an SMG, that's pretty good. You'll notice I've got the compensate flash hide on pretty much all my SMGs and the cases brake on the rifles as well. And the reason that is because this thing doesn't really... I've just removed it. Okay. The main reason I'd say that I don't use this on the rifles is because of the bullet velocity here. It's a 5% reduction, which is, you know, when you're talking like 800-900 meters per second, that's quite a big reduction. So obviously you don't want that. And I also feel like the recoil benefits on this, they're not really as useful on the rifles, especially if you're talking some things like the Brewing and stuff. Like, it's not really necessary. And the cases brake isn't really great on the SMGs either because it hurts our ADS-B quite a lot. So obviously that's part of the mobility factor of the SMG. You don't want to lose that. And it's sort of on the flip side for the rifles as well. You don't want to lose the bullet velocity on the rifles because otherwise what's the point? Anyway, DR6 hand stop, 50 round mag. Obviously you want the biggest magazine you can. The hand stop for mobility, the Lockman 400 whatever stock for the mobility, and then the rear grip for the recoil control as well. This thing is actually really accurate, so you don't really need any extra recoil control on it, which is why I've gone for the stock and the hand stop there. Next up, we're going to go the sniper build here. I've got my Moors, which I haven't even gone to Stellar yet, to be honest, but this is the build that I've gone with on the Moors. This thing is really fun. I like it a lot. I know a lot of people use the XRK Stalk or the FJX Imperium. The main reason I like this, apart from just it sounding cool, is that it's very easy to use in the sense that you don't have to manage your reload. It's literally as soon as you pull the trigger, you rechamber, you're putting that bullet straight back in, so you don't need to reload a mag. But anyway, we've got the Emperor long barrel, obviously for the damage range on this thing. We've got the angled grip here, which is mainly for the aiming stability and aiming sway. The stability while aiming in with this thing is actually really bad, which is why I've gone with this thing. Quite a rogue choice, I suppose, but I personally really like it. We've got the Superline 90 stock here, which you could probably swap out for the high road heavy stock, to be honest, if you want your aiming stability to be a bit better. We've got the quick bolt, obviously just to get the quicker fire rate, and the OP 980 grip here for the aim down sight speed. Again, you could probably swap out this grip for this one over here, and once again, that's just for the stability, but I like to have some kind of speed with my snipers. I don't want to carry around some heavy luggish thing, otherwise I'd just use the Cat AMR. And on sniper support, I'm actually running the BP50. I know people use the WSP9 for sniper support, but I actually really like the BP50. This thing's mobility is great, its fire rate, its damage. This thing is just all round a great weapon to use. Obviously, we've got the sights on here. We've got the 45 round mag, the high grade rounds just to add a little bit of range to this thing. Obviously, it's an assault rifle, but we still want a little bit of range on there. I've gone with the high grade rounds instead of a barrel because the barrel's going to hurt our ADS and other things, whereas the high grade rounds literally just does recoil control. If you use the BP50, you know it has barely any recoil. Then we got the DR6 hand stop and the cases brake. Once again, just very straightforward. Now, the next weapon, I didn't believe at first when I heard about about it, but I still used it in a loadout, and here we are today. I genuinely think this might be my favorite weapon to use at the moment. It's the STB-556 from Modern Warfare 2. So here's the loadout I'm using on this thing. Honestly, the recoil control on this thing is incredible. Glassless optic and 42 round mag. I prefer using the glassless optic for my range builds and the Mark III reflector for my SMG build. I don't know why, don't ask me, it's just preference. Brewing heavy support grip, cases brake, 20-inch Brewing barrel. Obviously, we've got the barrel for the longer range. Brewing heavy support grip and cases brake to just eliminate the horizontal recoil, add some vertical on as well. And here in the firing range, if I show you, I'm not going to touch my right stick. Look at that recoil pattern. It's so nice. I mean, you've got a little bit of a flex to the right there, but by then you're probably not shooting. And if you are, you can sort of anticipate that anyway, because it's just a quick movement to the right. The testing against the dummies here and actually controlling the recoil, I mean, you'll see this thing literally doesn't move. It's so good, man, and the damage is really good as well. Highly recommend using this thing if you haven't already. It's an absolute blast to use. Next up, we've got the striker, just the original striker. This is what I've gone with here. We've got the Mark III reflector, the 48 round mag, and the DR6 hand stop. You guys know why by now, I don't really need to say again. We've got the Lockman recon stock just to add that gun kit control in, and then we've got the sonic suppressor just to add a bit of range and also keep us off the radar as well. This thing's basically a harder hitting version of the Striker 9. The only downside is that the fire rate is a bit slower than the Striker 9, so I'd keep that in mind. Last pick of the day here, we've gone for the Holger 556 Jack Glasses optic 40 round mag. I mean, you guys know how we do it. Brewing heavy support, the Spirit Fire suppressor, and the Chiros barrel. Obviously, the barrel, we've gone for the extra range. The Brewing heavy support grip is just the best foregrip in the game. There's no reason to use anything else. And the Spirit Fire suppressor is very good for the recoil control, for the range as well, and it keeps you off the radar, which is a nice bonus as well. Now, the only thing I'll say about the Holger compared to everything else we've talked about today, the fire rate is a lot slower than all the other guns, so you have to be really accurate with this thing to do well with it. Basically, what I'm saying is if you miss a couple bullets, that time to kill can go exponentially high, and it will just feel really bad to use. So I only recommend this if you're actually really accurate. And finally, we're going with the Ram 9 here. I mean, everything on the screen I don't really need to talk about. The only thing that I will talk about is the high grade rounds. The reason we've got the high grade rounds is because we're not using the barrel. Obviously, I talked about that before. Using the barrel will hurt our ADS speed, our other mobility factors. This adds our bullet velocity damage range on without hurting that. And the stock as well is obviously just add a bit of recoil control in there. If you want to, actually, you could probably swap out the high grade rounds for a sight, because the Ram 9, they're not terrible iron sights, but they can be a bit invasive. But I use the high grade rounds because I actually don't mind the iron sights on this gun, to be fair. Now, I'm going to throw in two honorable mentions here, an assault rifle and an SMG. The first assault rifle I want to talk about is the TAC 56. Now, this is not something that anybody's talking about. This is not something that is meta like the 556 STB. This is just something I believe can be good. And this is the setup I've gone with. We've obviously gone for the longest barrel. We've gone for the cases brake and the Brewing heavy support to just eliminate recoil. High grain rounds for the extra range and the 60 round mag. Now, you could take off the high grain rounds. You could add on, I don't know, a stock or sight or rear grip maybe. But this is what I think is probably going to be the best TAC 56 loadout. Like I say, I don't really know on the stats exactly. I've not really looked too deep into it, but this is something I think could be fun. I'm still experimenting with it, so I'll probably get back to you guys in a future video like this. But the TAC 56 is something that I fell in love with in Modern Warfare 2, and I really want it to be good in this game. I don't know if it's really meta competing, but from what I've used, it's not terrible. It actually could be pretty good. And the final one I want to throw out here is the Core 45 pistol. Now, you need the aftermarket part on this one, and it basically turns it into a binary trigger, which we'll talk about in a second. You're going to want the Zem compensator on the front. You want the 40 round drum, a sight, and the dynamic precision stock. And if we talk about this binary trigger, which I actually thought was a glitch at the launch of this game. So basically the way that this works is you pull the trigger once, you shoot one bullet, you let it go, you shoot another bullet. So basically, you just spam it, and it basically becomes full auto. Now, the reason why this thing is so good is because the fire rate is kind of uncapped because it's based off your trigger finger, and the recoil, as you just saw, is all vertical. So if you can just control that vertical recoil, you can get a very accurate little pattern there. Look at that. Yeah, this thing's a nice little off-meta fun gun to use, to be honest. I wouldn't recommend it if you're trying to beast lobbies, but it's a very fun thing to use. I recommend it anyway. But anyway, that's going to do it for my loadout video. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Warzone content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.